Arsenal finally win a game in the month of April. We will talk about that and much more in today's video where we talk about the Saturday soccer slate. What's up everyone, it's Sam aka FIFA Brit from Gold Boys. Thank you to Sleeper Picks for sponsoring this video, but more on that later. Well, it was a pretty exciting week of Champions League football. We're not going to go into the specifics. Yes, I'm aware Arsenal lost. No, we're not going to talk about it. That's why we're going to talk about the weekend. But yeah, some fantastic games all around. We hit some great bets, especially earlier on in the week. Europa League wasn't particularly kind to us, but it is what it is. So that's why we're going to talk about Saturday now. And we're going to start with the Premier League, starting with Luton against Brentford. This really should be a goal fest. At least I hope so. Both teams to score in over 2.5 is a playable price. And Luton really kind of have to go for it. There aren't that many games left in the season, and they sit in 18th, just inside the relegation zone, but very close to escaping it. So I'm guessing Luton's shots are gonna be the way here. Ross Barkley loves a shot. He takes their set pieces, usually good for a shot on target. So if you see that shot on target at plus money, pretty good value there. As for Brentford, it really depends on their lineups because they've been rotating a lot lately. Tony hasn't been playing, so it could be Tony, it could be Mbeumo, it could be Wisser, it could be Malpe. It could be any combination of those guys in the front three or the front two, depending on which formation they run with. So very formation dependent, but I really think Luton have to start going for it. So attacking them in a home matchup where they will almost certainly score and they will almost certainly concede, that screams back and forth action, which tells me shots, that tells me goals. So that's what I'm thinking about that game. Next game I want to talk about is a massive game for the relegation battle. Sheffield against Burnley. We are talking the bottom two teams. This is big. A win here for either team could make or break the other one. Honestly, that's how close it is, and we are getting to the crunch time in the season. I don't think Sheffield can play it safe either. They are bottom of the Premier League, and if they don't get a win here, I would go as far as to say it's basically over. It may not be mathematically over, but it will essentially be over. So we're looking, again, Sheffield shots. Brereton Diaz is a fantastic player on loan from, I believe, Villarreal. If they sign him permanently, that would be great, even if they do get relegated. But if they get relegated, something tells me he's going back to Spain. But he's usually great value for a shot on target. Used to be plus money for a single first half shot. That has obviously since adjusted, but he was on like a fantastic streak. I think he got his first 5 games for Sheffield. He got at least one shot in the first half. He was a great value pick. It's kind of died down, but he's still going to be one of their main threats. And Hamer in the midfield, he takes their set pieces, and he also just loves ripping from 30 yards out. So those are the guys on Sheffield I would look at for shots. Burnley also can't really afford to play it safe. I would imagine they'll be more cautious and trying not to lose. But again, this is Sheffield. You're playing the worst team in the league, the only one below you. So really you need 3 points here. Maybe they can be happy with a draw, but personally, I wouldn't be. So I think both teams really need a win here. And on the Burnley side, we're looking at Odegaard, we're looking at Larson, we're looking at Fofana. If Odegaard is playing striker, he usually gets priced as an outside mid. So if he's playing striker, I think there's usually good value there. 2 first half shots you can usually get for around plus 200, maybe plus 300 if they're playing away from home. So he's definitely a guy that I would look at, especially if he's playing striker. Last Premier League game I'm going to talk about is Wolves against Arsenal. Arsenal in April usually suck. They weren't brilliant down the stretch last season. They weren't brilliant down the stretch the season before that. And we've now gone 3 games without a win. We drew Bayern in the first leg, we lost to Aston Villa, and we lost to Bayern in the second leg. So it's been a while since we've won. It will be almost, I guess, a month, maybe 3 weeks. I forget. Time passes, and being an Arsenal fan, you kind of forget. You kind of forget when things used to be good. But this really should be a bounce back spot. Declan Rice has said, this is the game where we bounce back. So the fact that he said that publicly is either going to look fantastic if we spank them 5-0, or it's going to make us look really, really stupid if we draw or somehow lose. let's not forget this Wolves team did beat City earlier on in the season, something like 2-1. Yes, it was at Wolves, but guess what? This game's at Wolves as well. So Arsenal are going to have to pull out all the stops. We really need a bounce back game. So we're going to go back to the basics. Saka first half shots. If you can get 2 for anywhere close to even money, love that. Wolves are very vulnerable on the counter-attack as well. So whoever's playing on the wing, Saka's obviously going to play on the right wing, but the left wing's a bit more up for grabs. Martinelli had 2 first half shots against Bayern. If he starts again, love that. If Jesus or Havertz starting up front, I'll take their first half shots as well. There's going to be some nice combo here. Just going to have to figure out how to attack it. Really depends how Arsenal line up. We've played a lot of games recently. That's it for the Premier League, but now we're going to jump into the Bundesliga. Only a couple of games worth talking about here. I would say Heidenheim against Leipzig. Leipzig are 4th in the Bundesliga right now, level on points with Dortmund, who are in 5th, and play Leverkusen later in the weekend on Sunday, which we will talk about in the Sunday video. Now, this whole race for top 4 may end up being completely irrelevant because 2 leagues will receive a 5th spot in the Champions League, because next year's Champions League we have a new format. They're expanding the format, so more teams are involved, and it's going to be based on the league coefficient, which is the average of how well all your teams do in Europe. England just got screwed. Arsenal out of the Champions League, City out of the Champions League, Liverpool out of Europa, West Ham out of Europa. Our last hope lies with Aston Villa in the Conference League, and that is not brilliant. Meanwhile, Germany have 2 teams in the Champions League semi-finals, Dortmund and Bayern. So they really should get this extra spot, in which case it doesn't matter if you come 4th. If you end up coming 5th, you're going to be in the Champions League anyway. So maybe this game ends up not meaning anything, but you still have to play as if you're playing for the top 4, because you never know how it's going to shake out with the UEFA coefficient. So Leipzig are going to have to try and get a win here. But we can't count out Heidenheim, because Heidenheim, only a couple of weeks ago, came back and beat Bayern 3-2, coming back from 2-0 down. So a nice both teams score over 2.5. Leipzig aren't brilliant on the road, but Heidenheim, again, they should be respected, yes, but they're not a brilliant team, and I would say Leipzig are better. So if you can get any nice value on both teams to score over 2.5, I would take that. But it's the Bundesliga. That hits almost every game, so usually it's not priced brilliantly. Anything north of minus 130, brilliant. Once it starts getting to the minus 140, minus 150, usually not that worth it. The other game I'm going to talk about is Union Berlin against Bayern. I think we kind of have to respect Bayern. I was talking about this on my podcast, The Final Third. The link to that will be in the description below. We just released a new episode. If you aren't listening, go and check that out. But what I was saying was that Bayern Munich really aren't worse than they were last year. Are they losing silly games? Yeah. But they're probably going to finish with more points than they got last season when they won the league. It's really only that Leverkusen have had an essentially perfect season and blown everyone else out the water. This Bayern team hasn't really fallen off. They've just been outclassed, which has never really happened in the Bundesliga for the past, decade. So this is an interesting matchup because they don't really have anything to play for in the league. Leverkusen have already won, but they have always matched up well against Union Berlin, particularly in shots. The last time they played Union Berlin, they had 20 shots with 10 shots on target. The time before that, they had 20 shots with 9 shots on target. Now, in New York, it may be different in other states. I don't know, because New York usually screws me over. You can only bet on shots on target on FanDuel. You can't bet on shots. If you can find a book that offers shots, and if you can get 20 shots for anything near bettable odds around plus money to minus 120, I would take it too. That's great. If not, you're kind of stuck on shots on target and praying that they're actually going to be shooting accurately, and also pray that they care about this game. They could be heavily rotated. They are dealing with a lot of fatigue. They've been playing in Europe, of course. That's more games than everyone else is playing, because Union Berlin aren't playing anything, that's for sure. But they've always matched up against them historically, and Union Berlin are not that good at defending shots, so that would be the way that I attack it. Don't go for a specific player, just take the team props and hope that somebody has a rep from anywhere. What's up, everyone? I just want to say a special thank you to the sponsor of this video, Sleeper Picks. Don't forget that you can use code GOLDBOYS to get a deposit match of up to $500 if you sign up today. Thank you again, Sleeper Picks, for sponsoring this video, and now back to the bets. Moving on to the Serie A, there's really only one game I want to talk about, and that is Hellas Verona against Udinese. And I want to talk about this because both teams to score is almost even money. This is a big relegation battle in Serie A, and both teams to score has hit in 4 out of the 5 last games that these teams played against each other, 4 out of the last 5 Verona games, and 4 out of the last 5 Udinese games. That's good hit rates in every which way you look at it. And if both teams to score is plus money and all the main guys are starting, I think that's pretty good value, honestly.
Wait, before we get back to the picks, I wanted to thank you all for watching. Friends don't let friends watch videos without hitting the like button. So go ahead and press the thumbs up button and like the video. If you're new here and not subscribed, you should go ahead and do so because we're dropping new content each and every day on the Gold Boys Network. We strive to cover every sport and give out picks and analysis and valuable information for free on the Gold Boys Network. So make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell so you can get notified when we drop something new. I'm Brad Thomas. Let's get back to the picks.
Last game we're going to talk about is the FA Cup. Unfortunately, La Liga and Serie A and Ligue 1 really just aren't giving me good matchups this week. It's getting to that time where you really have to have something to play for, and a lot of these leagues are already wrapped up. The Premier League has a 3-way title race going on, so that's going to be the focus of a lot of these videos because there's still a title race to play for, still massive relegation battles to play for. The other leagues, not really so much. Now, we do have El Clasico on Sunday, so that will be covered in my Sunday video because obviously El Clasico is a fucking massive game. But for now, unfortunately, we are going to wrap up with the FA Cup because really that's all that's left to talk about. This game is between Man City and Chelsea. City are knocked out of the Champions League. They lost on penalties to Real Madrid. They're probably going to be really fucking pissed about that. They're in driving position to win the league, and the FA Cup is really the only other trophy they can get. Now, if you can get the FA Cup and the league, that's a good season. Does losing in the Champions League suck? Yeah, it does, especially as the reigning champions. But you take a couple of trophies. For Man City, that's a good season. So this is going to be an interesting one, especially with lineups because De Bruyne and Haaland are both questionable for this game. Pep kind of threw them under the bus and said that he subbed them out because they both said that they couldn't finish the game. I personally think that's kind of a dick move. You know, as a manager, just kind of own your subs, and the fact that he said it after the game when they had lost, when it was a weird decision to sub them during the game, kind of feels like he's deflecting. Even if he is telling the truth, I just wouldn't say that. At least wait a day or two and say, hey, they're fatigued, they've been playing in the Champions League, so they might not play this weekend in the FA Cup. That's fair enough, but saying it in your press conference after the game feels like a little bitch move to me. Maybe that's just my bias against Man City showing, but didn't really like that. That being said, it remains a fact that Haaland and De Bruyne are questionable for this game against Chelsea. If they're both out, you guys should know me by now. Julian Alvarez first half shots. The guy's an absolute wagon whenever both of those players sit. And then obviously on the Chelsea side, I think it goes without saying, but I have to say it anyway, Cole Palmer. Not only is he ripping shots and doing basically everything for Chelsea, let's not forget he used to play for Man City. They sold him in the summer. Pep said, hey, we'll play you a little bit more if that's what you want. And he basically said, no, I want to leave and get guaranteed playing time. And Pep was like, well, I can't really guarantee you that because I don't think you're good enough to start for my team. You know, I could bring you off the bench. And he was just like, nah, not really feeling that. So he went to Chelsea, and fair enough, it has worked out. He's now tied with Haaland in the Golden Boot race, which is ridiculous. Like, that's crazy. It's ridiculous. But he's playing against his former club. Something tells me he's going to be ripping shots if Chelsea can keep any possession whatsoever. His first half shots are priced really nicely. He's usually around even money for 2 first half shots. He has plus 260 for 2 and plus 950 for 3 first half shots. That is obviously because he's playing against City. You might just want to take him for a shot on target or to score or assist. Those are safer bets that will last the whole game and won't die after 45 minutes. But you guys know me, I love my first half shots, and I love the value on someone who, if he can get the ball serviced to him, will shoot the ball. That's going to wrap up our coverage of the Saturday soccer slate. As always, if you do think you have a gambling problem, don't forget to call the number 1-800-GAMBLER. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at FIFABrit. And if you aren't subscribed to our YouTube channel, go ahead, do that right now. Drop a like on the video and tell me in the comment section below which game this Saturday you are most excited for. Best of luck with all your bets. If you haven't joined Gold Boys already, don't forget to sign up right now. It's a great time to do it. Goldboys.com. The link will be in the description, and all of my official plays will be locked in there. Best of luck with all your bets. I'll catch you next time, and have a good one.